The Canadian government has declared an economic war on the United States with only one goal in mind: to cripple the United States economy and make Trump hurt. Hour after hour, new tariffs are being imposed, with Canadian ministers going offensive and hitting specifically pro-Republican American states. But things don't stop here. Besides direct tariffs, micro-level strategies are being used by Canada and the EU, which are directly hitting Americans. Thousands of jobs are being lost, various sectors are in decline, and ordinary Americans are feeling the pain. The American economy is silently leaking with abrupt meltdowns like the recent $5 trillion loss in the U.S. stock market. So, how are Canada and the EU together hitting back at the United States, counterattacking where it hurts the most? In this video, let's know about the whole story. A full-blown economic war has erupted, and Donald Trump just found himself at the center of a global counterstrike. What started as a political strategy to protect American industry has escalated into a trade war so intense that America's closest allies, Canada and the European Union, are now actively working to hurt the U.S. economy, not just in retaliation, but with precision-guided economic weapons aimed straight at Trump's support base. The catalyst is Trump's decision to impose sweeping tariffs on Canadian goods, including a staggering 25% levy on steel, aluminum, and other industrial imports. Trump claimed this was about national security and stopping drug trafficking via the northern border, but the consequences are much more chaotic and far-reaching than anyone in the White House seems willing to admit. Canada's reaction was immediate and devastating. With surgical precision, Canadian officials announced reciprocal 25% tariffs on nearly $30 billion worth of U.S. exports. And that's just the beginning. These tariffs directly target Republican-leaning states like Florida, South Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, and Kentucky, with products like orange juice, household appliances, whiskey, and motorcycles. In other words, Canada isn't just retaliating economically. It's playing politics too. British Columbia has introduced even bolder measures, including new legislation to charge U.S. commercial trucks passing through its territory en route to Alaska. That single decision has the potential to cripple Alaska's economy, which depends on the Alaska Highway, a 2,450 kilometers supply route through Canada, for 80% of its goods. If this measure passes, shipping costs will skyrocket, and prices for essentials like meat, milk, and produce in remote Alaskan communities will surge. But this isn't just about transportation or consumer goods. The entire tourism industry in Alaska is under threat. Most cruise ships traveling to Alaska must first dock at Canadian ports due to maritime regulations. If Canada disrupts or delays this pipeline, the state's multi-billion-dollar tourism economy could crash. Supply chains, travel routes, and economic stability are all now entangled in a geopolitical standoff where America's own northern neighbor is ready to squeeze, choke, and isolate parts of the U.S. economy. In fact, several Canadian provinces are also flexing their muscles. British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec have banned American wine, beer, and spirits from shelves. Ontario alone canceled a $100 million contract with Elon Musk's Starlink. Meanwhile, the White House's reaction to this escalating crisis is disturbingly unserious. While the Dow Jones crashes by over 330 points and over $5 trillion vanishes from the U.S. stock market in just 3 weeks, President Trump isn't delivering economic plans or negotiating resolutions. He is tweeting praises for Elon Musk and hosting Tesla PR events. Wall Street is in panic mode, consumer confidence is plummeting, and the business community is desperate for clarity. But Trump seems more focused on distractions than on policy. Economists, including those from Barclays and CNBC, are openly calling his trade agenda chaotic, warning of inflation, mass layoffs, and long-term damage to America's global credibility. The European Union hasn't stayed silent either. Brussels just launched a €26 billion retaliatory tariff package targeting U.S. exports like bourbon, peanut butter, motorcycles, and jeans, items produced in Republican states. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has stated clearly, Europe will not be bullied and will respond with full force. These retaliatory tariffs are not just symbolic. They are strategically calibrated to inflict political pain while applying economic pressure. And if that wasn't enough, Mexico is also lining up a package of Republican-targeted tariffs. Though Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has delayed its launch by a month, her government has made it clear. If Trump continues down this path, Mexico will join the retaliation. Before we continue further, tell us, are you enjoying the video? If yes, please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, and current affairs impacting your lives. Then there's the energy time bomb. The U.S. imports over 4.3 million barrels of oil from Canada every day, accounting for 60% of all American oil imports. Canada has hinted that it may cut exports in retaliation. If that happens, U.S. refineries, especially in the Midwest, would be paralyzed. These facilities are built to process Canada's heavy crude, not lighter oil from the Middle East or Latin America. Switching would require expensive retooling that could take years. That means soaring gas prices, oil shortages, and manufacturing shutdowns. America would be forced to seek oil from unstable regions, adding geopolitical risk to economic pain. Now, as Canada and the EU, being former American economy's allies, are putting tariffs, the historic rivals are proving to be the last nail to the coffin. Even these historic allies and rivals are now coming into an alliance. Trump's February 2025 decision to slap a 20% tariff on Chinese goods only worsened the situation. China, instead of retreating, responded by cutting U.S. imports and doubling down on trade ties with Canada and the EU. In fact, China is now importing more oil from Canada than from the U.S., using the newly expanded Trans Mountain Pipeline, which boosted capacity to 890,000 barrels per day. That pipeline now delivers nearly half of Canada's crude oil exports directly to Asia. LNG Canada, another mega project, is also stepping in to supply China with natural gas, filling the gap left by U.S. restrictions. What this means is simple. Canada is replacing the United States as China's strategic energy partner. It doesn't end with energy. China has slashed U.S. agricultural imports, moving toward Brazil, Argentina, Spain, and the Netherlands for soy, wheat, corn, and pork. In 2016, America provided 40% of China's soybeans. By 2024, that dropped to just 18%. Meanwhile, Brazil and Argentina supply nearly 75%. China's demand hasn't fallen, it has just shifted. This collapse in export demand has left U.S. farmers with oversupply, falling prices, and no backup plan. Financial stress and potential bankruptcies are rising, especially among small farms. Over 2 million American agriculture workers are now vulnerable to layoffs due to Chinese counter-tariffs, and the broader manufacturing sector is also under siege. The numbers are staggering. Up to 5 million American jobs are at risk from the combined retaliatory tariffs from Canada and China, according to the Brookings Institution. Most of these jobs, roughly 3 million, are in Republican voting counties. From coal mining in West Virginia, to soybean farms in Iowa, to aluminum manufacturing in Ohio, these regions are directly in the crosshairs. Canadian and Chinese policymakers know exactly what they are doing. They are not just fighting a trade war, they are waging a political one, aiming their economic firepower where it hurts Trump most. The damage to American industry is also internal. Trump's aluminum tariffs alone could wipe out up to 100,000 U.S. jobs. warned Alcoa's CEO, William Opplinger. While the goal was to revive domestic aluminum production, the reality is more complicated. Much of Alcoa's aluminum is produced in Canada and then shipped to the U.S. for finishing. The new tariffs increase costs for everyone: manufacturers, canning facilities, and construction companies, and push companies like Coca-Cola to shift away from aluminum altogether, resulting in job losses in related sectors. Canada's retaliatory strike is meticulous and aggressive. A list of over 1,250 U.S. products now face tariffs, including cosmetics, paper products, tires, household goods, dairy, sugar, coffee, orange juice, and even American wine and whiskey. Earlier, Trudeau and now Mark Carney have said openly they are targeting Trump allies and red states. That's not a conspiracy. It's a stated strategy. Ontario alone is removing U.S. alcohol from stores, cutting off a $700 million annual market. Canada is even considering legal action through the USMCA and the WTO to challenge the tariffs as violations of international agreements. One of Trump's economic advisors recently suggested the best way to avoid the trade war is to simply annex Canada as the 51st U.S. state. Canadian officials responded with fury, reaffirming their sovereignty and rejecting what they see as a manipulative, imperialist idea. As economic chaos deepens, Americans are voting with their feet. Immigration firms in Canada, Germany, and Ireland report record numbers of Americans applying for residency or citizenship. These aren't just desperate refugees. They are skilled professionals, researchers, and entrepreneurs fleeing a country they no longer trust. The loss of these workers will deepen America's brain drain, strain pension systems, and shrink consumer demand. Gun violence, political instability, and attacks on minority rights under the Trump administration are accelerating this exodus. Overall, Trump's tariffs are hurting the United States the most, with ordinary Americans feeling the pain, and Trump does not care. And in all that, Canada, the EU, China, and other countries facing tariffs are ready for all kinds of retaliation. What do you think? Can Canada and the EU give Donald Trump a harsh reality check that he cannot bully as he pleases? Isn't it true that with the impacts of Trump's tariffs hitting American consumers and the working class, Trump is making his very voters turn against him? In the comment section right below, share your thoughts on what precise and surgical attacks Canada and the EU can carry out to punish Trump. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We bring the latest news stories on geopolitics, economics, changing world order, and current affairs, things you need to stay informed. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.